Everybody, welcome to Ann Ortelee's Weekly Weather. My name is Ann Ortelee. I'm an astrologer here in Florida and New York City, and this is the weekly weather for April 27th, 2025. What we do here on the weekly weather is we give you an idea of what's coming ahead and where you're going and what's new, and where do you work with it. So we just had a new moon on Sunday in Taurus at 7 degrees of Taurus. So new moons, 427, are very, very juicy for initiating new projects, new ideas, and forward motion. And this particular new moon, because all the planets are direct, yay, rah, and everybody's flying along, and all the blockages have been completed, is a very powerful new moon. So I encourage you to do a new moon ritual today. If you're trying to get rid of something, good time to do it on the Gemini moon because it has a hard closing aspect. That would be the next 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday. And then the moon's in Cancer at the end of the week, which is also a good time to do a new moon ritual. Cancer moon is in its rulership. Sun in Taurus is happy. It's blooming. It's growing. So this is a very good one. I do a new moon webinar available for purchase on my website, which we did on Friday, the 25th. But just in general, this is a really good new moon for you to get your stuff out there. Like, okay, the planets are going forward and I am too. So off we go. As mentioned, we have a very big year this year because we have the 5 planets changing signs into outer planets changing signs, as well as the nodes of fate. And this week, when Venus goes into Aries, she's going to trigger that January 11th date. And what was going on then? It was the fires in California, and it was Trump being indicted for 34 counts. And it also was Kamala Harris's last trip over to NATO. We also are having, in a few weeks, we are going to have Saturn going into Aries in May, and we're going to have Uranus going into Gemini in July. And so those are big. And we also have Jupiter, which happens every year. He changes signs, but he's going into the sign of his exaltation in Cancer. So right now we have Neptune in Aries and Pluto in Aquarius, and the other guys are all getting ready to shift. So that's why the world feels so unstable. We're going from earth and water into fire and air. And fire and air is much more impassioned, but it doesn't have anything to land on. And the earth and water things have been going on for the last 14 years with Neptune in Pisces. And now that he's in Aries, he's like, I'm on fire. And of course, Pluto is in Capricorn from 08. So that was an earth sign too. So Neptune and Pluto, they have this sextile that they're forming, and it's shifting from earth and water into air and fire. So you're going to really feel your impetus, your cultural drives, your purpose on earth, because these are what are called transpersonal planets, meaning they're not about you, they're about everybody. But it's why everybody's a little bit on fire lately. And if you know that, you can work with the energy productively and achieve what you want to do. And so this week, with all the planets going forward, is a great week to get things done. Additionally, there's 3 planets at 0 Aries. The node, which was January 11th, Saturn's going to be there, and Neptune is there. And those are big times. If you think back to the late 90s, there was a big fiscal adjustment. There was the dot-com collapse. Think back to April 1861. It was the beginning of the Civil War. So we have really important energies happening too, in terms of our vision of who we are, our ideas about what we want. And of course, Aries initiates a new cycle. In the case of Saturn, a new 29-year cycle. In the case of Neptune, a new 165-year cycle. So these are, and then in the case of the nodes, a new 19-year cycle. So basically the rest of your life, or the next 20 years of your life, is being mapped out now. So it's important for you to be, hey, I'm in the driver's seat of my life and my choices, so let me go forward. And Neptune and Aries are going to, Saturn and Neptune are going to dance in Aries and Pisces all this year, back and forth, back and forth. And then they're going to meet up next February, which is when, that's when the door gets locked and they're committing. Features of this week, in week of April 27th, is Mercury's gone past his retrograde shadow of 934 Aries. And remember, he was retrograde last month. He was retrograde in December in Sag. There was a new moon at 7 Taurus, and it was part of a thing called a T-square, which is a high action-oriented, get stuff done. And of course, it perfected on the funeral for the Pope, which was all the world leaders gathering together to bury a guy who'd been doing the job for 12 years. That's Jupiter. Jupiter's a 12-year cycle. And moving forward, what are our choices? That T-square is going to break up this week. So it's going to release the tension, which is helpful. Venus is going to go into Aries. When she goes into Aries, she's going to meet up with Neptune. That's a big deal. Venus last met Neptune in Aries back in 1861. So when Neptune's in a new sign and all the planets come in and introduce themselves to him, Mercury met him last week. Venus is meeting him this week. Mars is not going to talk to him for a while because he's in Leo, but as planets go up and meet up with Neptune, they get infused with that new primary energy of I am, because Aries is always an I am energy. So Neptune going to Venus is I want. Venus is the desire planet. When Mercury was there, I have a vision, I have an idea, I have a purpose. Now Venus is there meeting him this week. So this is a dream energy. It's got a big visionary component. Unfortunately, Venus isn't really thrilled with being in Aries, not her favorite jam, but because she's a little feisty, but she's also a morning star since she had the conjunction in March with the sun. She was Cazimi to the sun and turned into a morning star until next January. So she's in an assertive mode when she's a morning star. We also have Mars going past his retrograde shadow of 6 Leo. He entered that shadow on October 5th. So if you think about October 5th last year, what was going on, he's now free of it this year, this month, this week. Right? He goes past it and he's like, okay, I'm done. He stationed in December in Leo and went backwards. And now he's going past 6 Leo, which means he's free again, free again. And if you think about last fall, I mean, I fell on October 10th, the Mars opposite Pluto back then. And now Mars is opposite Pluto here with the T-square. And it's like, okay, focusing on healing my leg and getting better. But think about what you were doing that first week in October. I went to a funeral for a really good friend. My assistant's father died. I fell and broke my leg. So she had a whole change in her career sector. What was going on for you at when Mars went in his retrograde shadow October 5th, which was Cancer. But where he's stationed, which is 6 Leo, which is December, I think 4th, he goes past that this week. And also Pluto is going to station and turn retrograde until October 13th. So he is stationing at 349 Aquarius, and he entered into this part. So everything from January 10th, which is when the North Node was at 0 Aries, the Pluto said, okay, this is what we're doing now. Now it all gets reversed. Now we go back. We go, no, we don't want that. We maybe want this. We're changing it up. So you may find the stuff you've been working on since January 10th stops and starts to go backwards. That is as it's supposed to be, because now you're going to get more information because Venus and Mercury and Mars are all not retrograde anymore. So think about it. Mars entered his retrograde shadow October 5th. Mercury was retrograde in December and in Aries, in Sag time, December, and in Aries time, March. And Venus was retrograde for 40 days. And so those are your personal planets. Like, who are you and what do you want? And your sun and moon are your ego and your purpose, but how you get there, Mars, what you desire, Venus, and how you think about it, Mercury, have all been up for negotiation since last fall. And now they've all kind of made some form of decision, which is good. And now they're going to be going forward and saying, aha, this is where I'm headed next. Next up, Mercury is past his retrograde shadow. And that's helpful. This is when Mercury is set free. So that was on Saturday when we were at the funeral for the Pope. And we saw all the world leaders gather, and we saw people, talking about the Pope and mourning the Pope in kind of a forward motion. We can see Venus there is past Saturn, so she's been set free, and Mercury now is free to communicate in a new way. We also had the new moon that happened on Sunday, which was in Taurus. These charts are cast for Washington. You cast it for your location, but you can see there's a nice stellium in this new moon chart. There also is a mystic rectangle. And the mystic rectangle is important because it invites us to understand our purpose and our karma and why we're here. More, it's got the deeper questions of like, why am I here and what am I here for and what am I supposed to do? Also, this, and I did a whole webinar on it, which you're welcome to buy off my website for the new moon, but it also has a couple of things that are called floppy kites or partial kites. And I kind of think of them as you have that grand trine, which you can see clearly the blue triangle in the middle. And then the triangle has sextiles to a third planet, which in this case, the triangle is fire and water. It's got the Mars, and then it has the water planets of Pisces, and how we're partnering with our life, Juno and Scorpio. So when it's a partial kite or a floppy kite, regular kites, if you watch them, they fly up and they just go up, and there's no drama with a regular kite. But when it's a floppy kite, and there's I think 3 of them in this new moon, floppy kites are the ones that go, then they go, then they go. It's also called a partial kite because they're missing a leg, they're missing a wing, and so they don't fly straight; they fly crooked. They kind of do their little dippy drop, and then they go up again, and you don't really know what it's going to do because it's a floppy kite, a partial kite. And so this new moon, while it's very potent in terms of the direction, and Venus is past Saturn answering to the moon answers to Venus in her exaltation, the kite is floppy. It's not working quite the way you would want it to, but it's getting there, right? So that's the other caution, or the other thing to remember. It ain't a straight line because everybody else is having these transits and they're all having their dramas. So you have to be honoring their dramas or their stories or why they can't or why they should or ... And then you want to be like, all right, well, my floppy kite wants to do this. Let's see what happens. And so work with that energy of the new moon, understanding it's not a straight path. Now, if you want to get rid of something, when we get to the Gemini moon, which is Tuesday and Wednesday, that Gemini moon's last aspect is a square to Saturn. It's done. We are done with it. I'm finished with it. I don't want anything to do with it anymore. So the energy is, okay, what's the point, right? And so this new moon is very juicy. It's the most fertile moon of the year because it's the sun and moon in Taurus, which is go plant stuff in the Northern Hemisphere, of course. Venus goes into Aries on Wednesday. And so she is now shifting nature. She is climbing out of the ocean where she's very happy, thank you very much, exalted in Pisces, and she's going into warrior goddess mode. So that's going to happen on Wednesday, and you're going to really feel a shift because Venus is in charge of a couple things in the sky. She is in charge of the sun, right? Because the sun is now going to get all fiery and impassioned. She's in charge of Uranus, the planet of chaos and change, who happens to be hanging out with Algol, the planet of beheading and getting rid of people. So when she goes into Aries, expect fireworks, expect drama, but also drama with a vision. Remember, she'd been retrograde watching all this stuff, hanging out blocked by Saturn, and he's letting her go. So we're going to watch for fiery women because Venus is often women. We're going to watch for fiery young people because Venus is young. And we're going to watch for passions to emerge. So this is a helpful time. And Venus, when she shifts, she's going to take those Taurus planets we normally think of as fairly placid, go along, get along, and she's going to kick their butts up. And she's going to make them wiry and fiery. So imagine the bull, nice and happy, and now he wants to charge you. So there was a video the other day on YouTube, which was a woman getting chased by a bison, and she fell, and then she played dead. So the bull came over and looked at her and whatever, all right, I'll leave, So we're going to have the sun in Taurus and Uranus in Taurus turn into the bull because Venus is now in charge and she's on fire and she's answering to Mars and she's in a trine to Mars and Leo. She's on fire to be passionate about what she believes is right. And, this is where we get into the conversation. Well, what is it you believe and why do you believe that? And more importantly, what are you going to do about it? Because there is an energy of taking charge and moving forward that's very strong. Next, Mars goes past his retrograde shadow. So he gets set free on May 2nd, when he is now past 6 degrees of Leo, and he's free. And he is action-oriented, and he is not fighting with Pluto anymore. He's independent. He's getting invited to go do things by the other planets, and he is in the mood to take action and get things done. And again, he went and stopped in December in Leo, and then he was retrograde from, December, January. It seems like a very long time, retrograde for a very long time. And now he's direct, but he's past the story that he was dealing with since October 10th. He's like, all right, I'm past it. Next. And that you'll feel like things shedding, dropping off your shoulders. This is done. I don't have to do this anymore. Next up, Venus meets Neptune. That happens on Friday too. Again, this is the last time Venus met Neptune in Aries was in 1861. Okay. Long time ago. So they don't really know each other. I mean, she hung out with him in Pisces for 14 years and liked him because whenever she was in Pisces and she met him, they had a good time. But now they're in Aries. So now they're making a plan, they're making a plot. It's kind of like when you were young and you were dreaming and you were thinking about things, what I really want to do, my bucket list, my vision, my idea. Well, now Venus is in a position of wanting to take action and get it done. And she's meeting up with Neptune and she's saying, let's put some fuel, because she's in fire. Let's put some fuel to those dreams. And she is now going to help the Sun and Uranus, who are very much about how we express ourselves in the world and how we make changes in the world, Uranus. She's helping us move those planets forward. Then we have Pluto stationing retrograde. Now he's going to go retrograde until the fall. He has gone as far as he's going to go. He is stopping on the descendant at 349 of Aquarius, and he's stopping on Sunday. And he's like, all right, let's back it up, baby. So basically this week, you got a lot of opportunity to get stuff done. And then Pluto says, I'm going to go backwards now until October. Now it's okay. He's the one that we had the big fight with Mars, that he's been kind of trying to get things done. So he's going to be relaxing a little bit in his quest to transform things, especially of a computer nature. So this does make me think that Elon Musk will be missing. He'll be going away. Donald Trump referred to him in past tense. So, but that Pluto in Aquarius stopping, the reason I'm saying Elon is Aquarius is the databases and the computer, and the social security and the stuff. But it is a Neptune. Neptune here is sextile to Pluto. So that's also a very strong energy in terms of our creativity. And when Pluto stations to go retrograde next Sunday, now that means, of course, the 5 days before and the 5 days after, we're going to feel him stopping. Usually when Pluto stops, there's a big earthquake. There's a big, some kind of power struggle, power dynamic. And obviously, we're going to start to elect the Pope, so that could be a day when the Pope gets picked. On May 4th, because they're all over there for the funeral, and then they go into the conclave. And if you haven't watched the conclave, go watch it, because we're going to have it happen, and they're going to send a little smoke up, and when they get the white smoke, we got the Pope. So Pluto angular is also a lot of changes and directional shifts in terms of where we're headed. All right, this coming up, I am teaching a workshop for ISAR, ISAR, which is the International Center for Astrological Society for Astrological Research. I'm teaching a predictive techniques workshop on May 17th. This is information on it. You can register for it on the website. It has a discount through the beginning of May, and then the prices go up. And then the cruise. So what happened was I thought we had a firm deadline of April 23rd, but we actually don't. We can keep putting more people on the cruise. So even though I said it's got to be in by April 23rd, yeah, I read the contract and it's like, no. So the cruise still has some spots available. And this cruise is leaving June 22nd through June 29th. And it's definitely, I need to go back and look at the cruise chart, because there's some kind of weird thing with the Mercury, because it's always like, well, da 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 da, and then it's like, no, now it's da 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 da. So it's got a definitely mercurial energy. At any rate, we're going to be on the Norwegian Cruise Line. I have bought the cabins, so you pay me for it. So if you go on the, you pay me for it because I bought them from them already. And some people have asked, can they use their points? And the answer is no, not really, because I bought the cabins with the idea of how much room we had in meeting room and people attending. Again, it's a guesstimate, but that's why you need to buy the cabins from me. And also we have added on to the cabins the Wi-Fi and the beverage package and a couple of other things. So that's why if you look at the website for the cruise itself and you look at my website, the prices are a little higher on mine. But that's because you're getting a bunch of astrologers coming and teaching you stuff. And we'll be talking soon about the faculty. But you have to need to make the payments to me. The itinerary is we leave on the 22nd at 5 p.m. That's a Sunday. Now, interestingly, that week we have the Seattle, which is where we're leaving from, has the international soccer matches there. So the hotel rooms are a little hard to find. So we booked rooms. If you're coming in on Saturday, we booked some rooms and we're holding them through the 5th of May. So then we release them, obviously, to the other people that are coming for the soccer matches. So if you are interested in doing it, that would be one of my suggestions is book if you have to, like I'm coming in from New York on Saturday, so I have the room for Saturday night. And for Saturday night dinner, we have a reservation at a nice Greek restaurant. And then we do the cruise. And so, we have 10 hours of astrology in the classroom, and then we're going to go star watching at night and hopefully northern light watching. And so it'll be a lot of fun. And the group that's assembling is different than, because I started this 2 years ago. Actually, Angelina pointed out, I mentioned it to her at NORWAC 3 years ago. Like, maybe we should do this cruise for my 70th birthday and my 30 years as an astrologer. So we did it, and then I had the cancer. And then, so we didn't do it. And then we did it again, and then I broke my leg. So we're not marketing this the way I would normally have marketed it, which is a lot earlier. But also we have all these life changes going on. And so people that were like, I'm in, are kind of like, eh. And people that are like, I couldn't have done it before, but now I can, are like, yay. So come join us. It'll be great fun. If you want to get off in Victoria, you need a passport. Because that's another country. But the rest of it is all United States. And it should be great fun. I mean, the group that's signed up so far is really lovely. And I saw a couple names come out like, oh, wow, cool. So hopefully you can join us. And then if you want more information, you want to go on my website. There's a thing right at the top. And then also on Angelina's, my cruise coordinator is on her website, rovingsouls.com/Annes, ANNES cruise. That's the link to get more information and see the pricings on the cabins. So what we get is 10 hours of astrology classes with me and other astrologers. We're going to have a new moon ceremony because Jupiter and the moon and the sun meet right on that new moon. And Jupiter's starting a new 12-year cycle in his exaltation. We're going to have stargazing with Jeff Gronlin, who's Angela's husband. Group dinners. You don't have to join us, but it's fun to sit and talk to different astrologers. Cocktail hour with hors d'oeuvres and stuff. Probably on the first night, we're kind of figuring out the timeframes of stuff. Free Wi-Fi in your cabin, 2 meals in the fancy places on the cruise where you can go other places, and then optional tours with the cruise line when we're in port. If you are handicapped, there's a lovely handicap service. I'm going to be renting a little scooter because I'm not quite up to really walking long distance with my walker. So there's also, if you're not so limber, you can rent a little scooter thing and scooter around. And here is the chart for the cruise. You can see it's a nice Venus in Taurus, Moon Uranus in Taurus, and then the Sun Jupiter conjunction because it's right after the ingress of Jupiter into Cancer. And you can see the soccer match, Mars in Virgo, quincunx the Pluto Neptune. The hotel rooms are hard to find. All good. And we're also going to have the Saturn Neptune here in the 5th house of creativity. So quite a few people are bringing family members or friends to travel with during the optional off the boat time. So consider that too. Make it a family event and come as a team and eat with us or roam around or whatever you want to do, and then come to the astrology classes. And then this is the new moon that we're having while we're on the boat. Look at that delicious moon sun in the 2nd house of what's of value. This is cast for Skagway, Alaska. And you can see it is a nice, really nice new moon chart. It's got a lot of potency and power to it with that sun and moon on Jupiter. All right, then we have a couple of stars where you can get a daily aspects and a theme song and an audio from me talking about what the energy is, kind of like a little mini version of the weekly weather. And let's take a moment and talk about the moons this week. All right, so today the moon is in Taurus, which is, of course, his rulership. We're working with, or his exaltation, rather. He's happy in Taurus, and we're expanding ideas and moving forward. So with that nice little moon in Taurus, there's a good working energy in terms of direction. And so Sunday was the new moon. Monday in Taurus is good. The moon goes void on Tuesday at 1:18 a.m. and then it goes into Gemini at 2:30 in the morning. Tuesday is kind of a rock and roll day, got a lot of stuff going on it. Especially the moon in Gemini sextiling to Mars and Leo. Then we go to Wednesday. Venus goes into Aries, as mentioned, and the moon goes void at 11:49 in the evening. So Tuesday and Wednesday are Gemini moon, and the moon goes void with the closing aspect to Saturn. So Tuesday and Wednesday are ending days. Like, I don't want that. I'm not interested in that. I'm finished with that. Let it go. Let it go. Good for letting go of things, letting go of habits, letting go of ideas, clearing out your closets. I got a bunch of stuff to go to Goodwill. That's when I'm bringing it. Thursday, the moon goes into Cancer at 3, these are all East Coast times, 3:23 a.m. And Thursday is kind of a bouncy day. The moon's in sextile, but it has some stressful aspects to the Venus and Neptune right as it goes in. But that's while you're sleeping. So that should be a lot of dream stuff, toss and turn night, Thursday night into Thursday day. But the moon's in Cancer Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the moon is out of bounds in Gemini and Cancer this week. So that makes the moon super reactive, but also very good at bringing things in, which is what we like. And then the moon is in Cancer on Friday when Venus meets Neptune, again, encouraging us to speak our truth. And the moon does have a square to Mercury that day, which is kind of like, do you really want that? And I always think of that country western song, Unanswered Prayers, So you're going to maybe revise your vision or revise your ideas. And then the Venus meets Neptune for the first time in 163 years on Friday as Pluto's getting ready to stop. So that should be a really big day, Friday. And then Saturday, we react to everything. The moon is in Cancer. It goes void at 4:02 a.m. and it goes into Leo. And that Leo moon is talking to Saturn. It's talking to Pisces when it goes void. Moon trine Saturn, which is a good flowing energy. And then it talks to Neptune, it talks to Venus, it argues with Pluto, and it meets up with Mars. So Saturday is rock and roll, Saturday the 3rd, out of control, very stressful, but in a good way, got a forward motion energy. And then when we get to the 4th, Pluto stations to go retrograde at 11:27 a.m. And you saw it was angular in the chart cast for DC, and it's a Leo moon, and it's got some nice aspects. So the stressful days are when the Cancer moon is running, because it's a pretty active little moon, and particularly Saturday, the 3rd. But mostly the week should be nice. The planets are all moving forward. Hooray, hooray. And then Pluto goes backwards. But generally, people with Pluto going backwards kind of are like, oh, okay. I kind of psychologically understand where I'm going, but I need to go do more work before I can build it. So that's the other piece of it. The Pluto's going to say, let's just back up and kind of reconsider all that we thought. But because he's in Aquarius and because he is so much tied to, I think, the Doge people kind of taking over the government and taking over the databases, more importantly, I think that'll be when we get some balance back in those stories. So hopefully that gives you some ideas about how to work with the energy and work with the time, the month, the week ahead. And you can tell it's a little humid here. I have my little frizzy hair today, and wishing you a happy weekly weather. Have a great time, and off we go.